Then he's omnipotent. Omnipotent means all powerful. I like what Jesus said. Jesus said, all power is given unto me. I give it unto you. Now, there's two words for power. There is dunamis, and I'm trying to think of another word, just slipped my tongue. See, God already knows this. But there's one that's for authority. And so God said all authority is given. I'm giving y'all authority. He's got the power. We've got the authority to use his power. Kind of like Daniel. When I watched Daniel out there, the first time I saw Daniel directing a funeral, and he walked out in chocolate windy. I'm sitting in a restaurant at Woogie's. I look over, and that little fella, he was a little bitty then. He steps out, and he does like this, and everybody stops. It's not because he's a bad dude now, because he was a little bitty when he first started. Him was too little to get in the department when he first started, but it's because that badge. That badge said he had the authority of Beaufort County behind him, and they stopped because of that. So I remember one day he was driving his, when he was an undercover cop. Of course, he was a lot bigger then, but he was driving his old Altima around, and he stopped. He was stopping someone on the side of the road, and I think he was even searching their car. And well, more than one time, they got calls to the sheriff's office. Said there's some kid out here with an Altima, because it was an undercover car. So some kid out here with an Altima stopping people on 17 and checking out their car. You might want to come get him. And they go, yes, ma'am. Or, man, that's one of ours. That's an undercover car. Yeah. Okay, so omnipotent, all powerful. I am the Lord, the God of all mankind. Is anything too hard for me? Jeremiah 32 and 27. I like this here too. Look. Stay alert. I am God, the God of everything living. Is there anything I can't do? So, he's omnipotent. And again, this is like Superman, all powerful. Remember I told you Sunday that Superman came from a Christian perspective? God's all powerful. And here's the difference. Superman had power, but he's a comic. He had power. There's people in here in these strongman competitions. They have power. God is power. Different. Way different. He is power. Is power. Yeah. Since God is all powerful, He can do all things. He will give me His strength to do whatever He asked me to do. And that's again, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Amen. Okay? And so, I remember at Procter & Gamble, we had 5,000 pound, 10,000 pound batteries. These batteries were so big, we could, the 5,000 pound, a couple of us could get in it and ride inside if you took the batteries out just to, in case, but we could ride in it. And because not only was it a battery, it was also a counterweight for the lift truck. And the 10,000, man, three or four of us could get in and sit in there and be comfortable inside that battery if you just took all the stuff out of it. And that battery acid, it was terrible. That stuff, and you had all those cells that you had to check before you took the battery and put it on charge. You had to check, and you had to put water in it. And if it got on you, it would burn you so bad. Man, it would burn you. It was so amazing. One of my projects actually was, instead of using these great old big old gloves, I got some gloves like the surgeons wore and got them and tried them and put battery acid on them, left them on there, and found the one that worked really good, the latex that worked really good. And so instead of me having to put on a battery glove that the tips broke off of, or somebody's wore, or somebody's dropped something in it, I got a fresh glove every time. And that little bitty glove, I could count every freckle on my hand through that glove. I could see my wedding ring that I wasn't supposed to be wearing out there on the floor. I could see if I'd written on my hand, I could read right through that glove. What was so cool is that battery acid, which could eat through, tore up a million pair of pants, I could pour it right in my hand and it wouldn't hurt me. Why? Because I was operating through the cover of that glove. And so when we're working for Jesus, He says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Again, it's not, you're actually the one doing the actual physical work, but you're not doing it alone. It's like me jumping out of an airplane. If I jumped out of an airplane Saturday and go, oops, I forgot my chute, there'd have been a funeral today. But I had that chute. And that chute was really awesome. I mean, it was so awesome. When it stopped you, it stopped you. When you pulled that cord, it was like, you know, whoa. I mean, it was just a powerful thing to be going 170, and all of a sudden, now you're only going, you know, I don't know, probably 50 mile an hour or less. And again, through Christ. I can't do it on my own, but through Christ I can do it. I can't handle things that come my way, but through Christ, yeah, I can. That itty bitty glove, what it can do. Can you imagine what all-powerful God you're working through Him can do? When Elijah was taken up, his mantle fell down, and he took that mantle, and Elijah took the mantle and hit the water, it parted, and then he took it, threw it over his shoulder, and started doing miracles that represented the Holy Ghost, the power of the Holy Ghost. Again, through Christ, the power that's available. So omniscient, omnipotent, and then omnipresent. What does omnipresent mean? You're everywhere.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. He's everywhere at all times. Yes. Am I only a God nearby, declares the Lord, and not a God far away? Can anyone hide in secret places that I cannot see Him, declares the Lord? Do not I feel heaven and earth, declares the Lord. Jeremiah 23 and 23. So, again, God is everywhere. So, I remember D.C. and Daniel's mom. She was real sick, and she did not want me to leave her side. And she already told me she was scared of the surgery because she almost had died from the last surgery, and she didn't want to go back there. And she said, honey, I wish I could take you with me. And I said, I wish I could go. I said, but remember this, God's going with you. And we walked back to the room, the surgical room, and I held her hand, and I prayed with her. I kissed her, and I said, God, go with her. When she went in there, she said she was so scared. And she thought about what I said. I can't go back there with you, but God can. And she said she saw the doctors and she saw the nurses. And she said she felt so cold and afraid. And she said she felt warm hands grab her feet. And she knew it was God. And so as soon as those warm hands grabbed her feet, that all her fear went away. And they put her to sleep, and the surgery was fine. I couldn't go back there, but God can. When you're on your job, you might have a meeting tomorrow. Guess what? You might only be you and 2 or 3 others, but guess who else is going to be in there? God. Remember telling you about the time that the CFO called me up and said all the vice presidents are having a meeting, and he said, and we got a problem. I'm trying to show them this is how it's supposed to be done, and they're not paying attention to me. They have fussed at me and cussed at me. He said, can you come up there and just tell them that this is what's supposed to be done according to the book? I said, sure. And this was the day before the meeting. About 5 minutes before the meeting, he called me and said, you're doing the meeting. Yeah. And so I said, wow. And so I said, Lord, he didn't tell me that. He's done talked to him 2 or 3 times. I didn't want to hear him. And now I'm going to go up there and do the same thing. So I said, Lord, go with me. I said, I don't know what to do. You got to go with me. And I went up there, and they started talking, and they were pretty fired up. And they said, well, David, tell us what's going on here. And I said, well, the problem we're having is, and I started saying, blah, 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 blah. And I said, and the book says, we got to do it this way, blah, 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 blah. And they went, yeah. And that CFO was beside me going, and we walked out. He said, I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. He said, I've talked to them for weeks. They don't want to hear what I got to say. And old Mr. David Linton walks up there, and he takes the book out, and he says, what the book say? And they go, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. He says, that's so aggravating. And I said, that's because it weren't me, bro. He said, well, who was it? And I was there. I saw you. I said, no, I had a higher power with me. And I brought him with me to that meeting. He goes, okay, you win. All right, omnipresent. God is with you. That's why no matter where you're at, you don't have to holler some great big prayer. You can whisper a prayer. That night that Daniel had gotten that wreck, it was a similar wreck to what I'd had, but Daniel, they told me that he was going in and out of consciousness, and when he was his big old truck, hit another big F-350, and they hit head on at 60 miles an hour. And the fire chief told me, he said, I thought your boy was going to die right there. He said, we thought we lost him 2 or 3 times, and we couldn't wait for his care, so I told him, get him out now, just get him out. And so, and then they said he had the broke back, and so when they finally get him, and he's on that table, he says, Daddy, I can't move, and he couldn't move that arm, he could barely move this arm, and the way he plays the drums now, you wouldn't think there's anything wrong with those arms. Well, and he, bless his heart, when he got to Greenville, we had to go ground because it was too foggy. It goes ground, and they carry him right in there, and they said, wait just a second, we got to do some tests. And then we go in, and Daniel looks at me and says, Dad, I suppose God will kill me. He told Michelle, just leave me, please just leave me. I'm no good for anybody, just leave me. And she said, Daniel, I'm not leaving you. And he looked at me, and he had tears out of his eye, and he said, Dad, I'm good for nothing. I can't even move my arm. He said, I'm dead from here. Well, he didn't even point, he just said, from my chest down, I'm dead. And I said, Daniel, give God a chance. He said, I heard the doctors talking. They said that it looks like my back is broken, my cord is snapped. He said, Dad, I'm worthless. And I said, Daniel, give God a chance. And I walked to Daniel's feet and grabbed his old cold feet. And I said, Lord, I'm calling you. Just as quiet. And that's no theatrics. And I said, devil, you tried your best to take him tonight, but you're not going to win. This is not between me and you, this is between you and God. This is God's child. And I believe, with all the things he's been through, that this is not his end tonight. And I believe God is going to heal him. And I said, Lord, show yourself strong. And I prayed for Daniel. And I walked back up and sat beside him. And that's when I remember the story where I took the $20 bill and I folded it up. I said, what's it? Daniel says, $20 bill. I said, what's this worth? He said, $20. I folded it up and said, now what's it worth? He said, $20. I crushed it. Because then he said, now what's it worth? He said, $20. I threw it on the floor and stomped it. I said, now what's it worth? He said, $20. I said, Daniel, you've been folded, you've been crushed, you've been stomped, but you still got value in God's eyes. And you hang on, God's not through yet. The doctor come right behind me and said, fellas, I got something, you ain't going to believe this. And I said, try me. He said, that boy ain't got a broken bone in his body. We don't know how he done it. And I said, I know. It still took him about a month to walk again, but he walked, and 6 months later, he was jumping out of helicopters in Afghanistan. God is powerful. He was omniscient. He knew Daniel was going to get in that wreck. He was omnipotent. He took care of it. He was omnipresent. He was with him in that wreck, kept him from dying in that truck. And I saw the truck. And he kept him from having that broke back. And he went with him when those doctors were taking those tests. And God was speaking to us saying, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Since God is present everywhere at all times, he's always with me wherever I am, in every circumstance, in every need. I can never truly be alone. Think about this. You're never alone. I've heard people say, well, they died by themselves. I hear people all the time say, I feel so bad because they died alone. I go, they didn't die alone. No. I said, there was angels all in that room. They were standing at attention, waiting for God's child to take its last breath. And when God's child took his last breath, they went and they escorted his spirit into the presence of Almighty God. So don't you ever think somebody dies on their own by themselves. They're not. God's there. So now,